I am 90 years old, and 2 weeks ago I discovered something that destroyed everything I believed about my life. For more than 60 years, I believed I was a father. I believed I raised my son. I believed he carried my blood. But now I know the truth. He never did. My name is Richard. I was born in 1935 in a small town in Indiana. Back then, life was simple. We didn't have much, but we had family, church on Sundays, and neighbors who knew each other. I met my wife, Adele, when I was 22. She had the kindest smile I had ever seen. The kind of smile that made you feel like the world was going to be all right. We married a year later. Back then, you didn't question things too much. You trusted the person you loved. A year after we got married, Adele told me she was pregnant. I remember the exact moment. She was standing in our tiny kitchen holding a cup of coffee. Her hands were shaking a little, and then she said, "Richard, we're going to have a baby." I was the happiest man alive. 9 months later, our son Daniel was born. I held him in the hospital room and promised him something. I promised I would always be there for him. And I was. I worked 2 jobs when he was little. I missed sleep. I missed weekends. But I never missed the important things. His first baseball game, his high school graduation, the day he got married. Daniel grew up to be a good man, kind, hardworking, the kind of son any father would be proud of. Over the years, people sometimes said he didn't look much like me. Maybe he looks more like Adele, they'd laugh. And I never thought twice about it, because why would I? Adele and I stayed married for 64 years. She passed away 4 years ago. Losing her was the hardest thing I had ever gone through. For a long time, the house felt empty. But I still had my son, and then 2 weeks ago, everything changed. Daniel came to visit me. He looked nervous, the kind of nervous you can feel in the room before anyone even speaks. We sat at the kitchen table, the same table where Adele once told me we were having a baby. Daniel put an envelope on the table. "I need to show you something," he said. Inside the envelope was a DNA test result. Apparently his daughter, my granddaughter, had bought one of those family ancestry kits online. You know the kind. You send a little sample, and they tell you about your family history. Daniel didn't expect anything unusual, but the results came back. Strange. According to the test, we shared no biological match. At first he thought it was a mistake, so he took another test, then another. All of them said the same thing. He looked at me and said something I never expected to hear. "Dad, the test says you're not my biological father." For a moment I didn't understand the words. It felt like the room had gone silent. 90 years of life, and suddenly nothing made sense. Daniel started apologizing. He said he never wanted to hurt me, but I wasn't angry at him. How could I be? He had just discovered the same truth I had. The truth was about Adele, and Adele was no longer here to answer any questions. That night I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about our entire life together. 64 years of marriage. Was it all real? Or had there been a secret hiding behind it the whole time? A few days later, I did something I had never done before. I went through Adele's old things, drawers, boxes, letters. Most of it was exactly what you'd expect. Old photos, birthday cards, recipes. But then I found something strange. At the bottom of a small wooden box, there was a bundle of letters tied with a ribbon. They were very old, older than my marriage. The letters were from a man named Gregory, and when I started reading them, my hands began to shake. They were love letters, real love letters. One of them said something I will never forget. It said, I wish things had been different. I wish I could raise our child with you. Our child. That sentence explained everything. Adele had been seeing someone before we married, and when she found out she was pregnant, she never told me the truth. Instead, she married me, and I spent my entire life believing Daniel was my son by blood. When I finished reading the letters, I sat there for a long time. I expected to feel anger, betrayal, maybe even hatred, but strangely, I didn't, because the truth is something I realized that night. Blood doesn't make a father. Time does. Love does. Being there when a child needs you, that's what makes you a father. I was there when Daniel took his first steps. I was there when he broke his arm riding his bike. I was there the day he became a father himself. No DNA test can erase 60 years of memories. The next day, Daniel came back to see me. He looked scared. Like a little boy again, he said, I understand if you don't want to see me anymore. I looked at him and laughed. 90 years on this earth teaches you something important. Life is too short to lose the people you love. So I told him the only truth that mattered. Daniel, you have been my son for 60 years. A piece of paper isn't going to change that. He started crying, and so did I. Because in that moment I realized something. Yes, my wife kept it a secret. Yes, I learned the truth very late in life. But I also learned something else. Love can be stronger than truth. And if I had the chance to live my life again, I would still choose to be Daniel's father every single time, even if he was never mine by blood.